Hi there, I'm Alice, and welcome to Study Diaries. In today's little audio, we're going to be talking about Greek gods. Okay, where do Greek gods come from? I remember when I was a kid, like a teenager, I used to look at multiple religions, and I always question there's so many things that are true, not true. There's just too many things. How do you know which one is true, which one is accurate, right? And now I found the true one, which kind of explains every other religion and spiritual thingamabobbing. So I remember watching Greek mythology. Now they call it a myth, right? They say that it never existed because I feel like we're in an age where we're within an age of science, right? Where everything needs to be a fact. Finding someone who has had spiritual encounters, especially when they're very influenced by the West, is very difficult. But if you go to African countries, Asian countries, they're no, this is real. Spiritual things exist whether you like it or not. We've seen things, and yeah. So I always used to wonder where Greek gods came from because I was always of the narrative, even with me, human beings are not, how can I say this? Human beings are, I always used to think that we as human beings, we accumulate knowledge throughout and then we reach a conclusion on our own, right? So we learn things by ourselves and then, we kind of integrate it together. So I used to think we aren't necessarily creators per se. We just channel things. Now that is questionable if we are creators as well, because we are like God, right? But I noticed that human beings are channelers, right? So even with Michael Jackson, he said he used to get songs. Apparently, I saw this where he used to get songs and people. Okay, let's just start with Michael Jackson, right? I think someone made a joke about this, where they were Michael Jackson, he used to say that I need to write the song before Prince gets it, right? And then there was someone the person who made the blues, right? They basically said that they got the song right from the crossroads, right? We know the crossroads is where people make those deals, right, with the devil and etc. etc. So they get those lyrics, they get those songs, they didn't create them or anything like that, and then they sell them, and then those songs they kind of blow up and etc etc. So when I saw this, right, and I even used to think, right, when I used to write books, they are an accumulation of inspiration from multiple stories, and I think about all of them, and then I put them into one amazing story that's interesting and entertaining, right? So with this in mind, I was always Greek mythology, right? Mermaids, sirens. Who thought of this? Where does the story come from? Right? Because even when I create stories, it's from inspiration from multiple things, right? It can be from a dream, which is a channeled area, right? Dreams are spiritual. Dreams are being within the spiritual realm. So, I was Greek gods, right? Who thought of that myth, right? Even Egyptians, right? They had Set, Moloch. Oh, is Moloch and Moloch? No, Moloch is not. Moloch is a demon. Sorry. They had Set, Ra, we have Isis, Osiris, all of those things. And I was deep into Egyptian mythology, which is kind of what interested, well, I was into Greek mythology first, and then I got into Egyptian mythology. Now, Egyptian mythology was the original one. Greek mythology was kind of taken from Egyptian mythology, right? The Greeks used to take inspiration from that, and then they would create their own gods. So I always used to think where do these things come from? Did human beings create statues? Because I know people made idols and etc etc. But these ones had stories behind them. They had a whole thing behind them, and I was who made this? Why? Where does this come from? Who is Zeus? Who is Poseidon? Who's Athena? And who Medusa? Her story, being cursed and all that jazz. Who made this up? Until I remembered something interesting, and it's so intriguing, right? Because all of these entities, right, they get worshipped by people. Even in Hinduism, right, we have Kali, we have who's the blue one? I remember that one used to be my favorite. The one of destruction. I forgot his name, right? But he's the one where it's chaos before destruction, right? The blue one. I forgot his name, but I used to be really into like his story and how he came about and etc etc. So I used to like explore all these things, right? And then I saw like a bunch of like cults and people within the Illuminati, right? They like talking about all of these entities and stuff, right? You'll see them always have like a picture of the one of chaos. Like I just forgot his name. Let me search it like online because I don't think this is gonna. Yeah. It's fine. God of destruction. Shiva. So forming part of the Trinity, right? Along with Brahma, the creator, and Vishnu, the preserver. Um, okay, let me see. Yeah. So that's who he is. So I was just to wonder, like, where do these things come from? Like, and also, the Sand People, right? The Sand People used to worship the sun, right? And we know that, like, in Egypt, they also used to worship the sun, right? The sun Ra. They called him that, and etc. etc. So I realized something. It was either they saw the creation and they worshipped it, or they created an idol and they worshipped the idol, or they actually had an experience with something, right? So with Greek gods, I noticed that they actually have a little bit of a storyline, right? If we link it to biblical terms. Remember how, the devil kind of like rebelled, right? And then he took a third of people from heaven and they fell with him, right? The entire reason why some of them fell, right, was because, well, the devil himself, he was kind of jealous, right, of God, and he wanted to be him, and he wanted to be worshipped, which was what made mankind fall as well, like it was the downfall of mankind. So when he fell, right, he still wanted that. There are people who worship Satan right now. And when I was a kid, I couldn't like comprehend the fact that like someone would willingly worship Satan, someone who is destined to like be thrown into the flames of fire. But I realized the fact that some people are evil, like they love evil things. And so they're going to follow the person who is evil, right? They're naturally like into dark things and etc etc. So they are his children basically, right? So the other angels as well, they wanted to be worshipped, right? As well, right? They wanted to be as gods. He probably sold them this idea that we're all going to be just like him, right? So they chose that choice themselves and they fell, right? When they fell, they kind of spread that concept as well, right? Because when they come to human beings, and I don't know what verse it was where angels weren't necessarily allowed to like meet with human beings. No, it wasn't that they were allowed. They were not allowed. When someone would see an angel, they would have such high regard for it that they would see it as God and they would start worshiping it, right? They enjoyed that. They wanted that. So they probably created different names for themselves, right? And by doing that, they have like different names for themselves. Zeus, they lie, right? They always covet and create new identities for themselves, and they provide people with gifts, right? That's why you have Oshun as well, like in Nigeria. Those African goddesses and those African gods, they are demons. Basically, they're fallen angels who want worship. But they're not going to tell you that, because if a majority of people knew that, hey, you're actually getting advice from fallen angels, they probably wouldn't go ahead and like do it, right? They wouldn't worship it verbatim. You need deception. It's like sin, right? Sin is relayed as nice and fun until you do it. When you do it, I don't know why people say it's fun. When you do it, right? your life is on a trajectory downwards after that. It's no longer fun, right? It's pain. You feel pain, sickness, depression, and you face consequences for having sinned and done those things, right? So that is the same thing with that. That is literally the same thing with those fallen angels. They're not going to outright tell you, right? The devil isn't going to outright tell you that, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna go into the lake of fire when the world ends. Not only that, but I am not having a great time right now. I am in pain because of my distance from God and actively choosing to be away from Him. So I am always in pain. He's not going to outright tell you that, right? He shows you like the glimmer and the glam, and then he dips, like those mermaids as well, right? At some point, someone was like, I don't know if it was, who said this? There were like pictures being like relayed where people were like, mermaids that I've seen, they are not beautiful. Like those things look scary. Those things look scary, right? They only have a mask of beauty and etc. etc. So yeah, that's where like Greek gods and Greek goddesses like actually like come from. They are fallen angels who curated different religions in different countries. And if you look at them, they're all the same. They're all the same. Think about it. The Sand people were literally in the south of Africa, right? They in southern Africa. Egyptians were in the northern part of Africa. How were they worshipping the same thing, like at the same time? All of these religions were the same. The encounters that they had, they were the same. The Sand people saw entities that used to come to them and stuff like that, and they used to feed them this knowledge. Because remember, people don't just blindly believe. There are people who do that, but when something persists for a long time, it's usually because someone saw something, right? That's why you can't outright say religion is not true. There are people who have had experiences that cause them to be closer to a particular religion. In Hinduism, you have the Kundalini spirit, all those things, right? They have all those things that cause them to believe in this. It's not just out of verbatim. They have experiences that result in the strong belief system. People who are Christian, they saw something. They saw a demon. They saw an entity, they converted, and they saw something. People don't just go on a whim. They saw something that scared them and made them realize that there is something. And if you look at all the religions, they all have someone coming. All of them have someone coming. All of them. It's just so interesting. But yeah, that's where Greek gods and Greek goddesses come from. That's where all of these entities come from. They all come from fallen angels creating the same thing over and over and over again. They're all the same. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to my little audio. Please like and subscribe. Bye.